Crypto had an eventful 2024. Bitcoin finally reaching $100,000 mark. And we also had David Sachs' appointment as the first AI and crypto czar, just to name a few. So as we head into the new year, let's talk about some of those top crypto themes to watch for in 2025. For that, we want to bring in Alexander Blume. He's the CEO of 2Prime. Alexander, it's great to have you here on Yahoo Finance. You were recently out with 10 crypto predictions for 2025. We want to zero in on 3 of those that we think could have the biggest impact on the price of Bitcoin here moving forward. And that first thing that you pointed out was that the U.S. is going to declare Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. I guess 2-part question here. 1, how realistic do you think that is? And then 2, how much of that optimism has already been baked into the price of Bitcoin here today?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. I would say, first of all, in the light of the last year with Bitcoin ETFs being extremely successful, the most successful ETFs ever created, as well as the election of pro-crypto candidates and a pro-crypto administration, the backdrop is set for a strong 2025. In terms of your actual question, there's 2 aspects to the strategic reserve. One is, by executive order, Trump can take the Bitcoin that the US government has confiscated and already owns and just say, this is part of our strategic reserve now. There's about 200,000 Bitcoin that the US government already holds. In addition to that, which is maybe a bit more complicated, is there's a bill in the Senate introduced by Cynthia Lummis to buy another 1 million Bitcoin through the Treasury. That is a little bit trickier because it has to go through the whole legislative process and can't just be done with the soup of a pen. However, I think, if you look at the kind of pros and cons of being pro-crypto, if you support crypto, you get more votes, you get more political donations, and there's really not a lot of benefit to being anti-crypto unless you're completely bought by the banks. And so I think there may be the political will to actually approve that bill as well. We've also seen, it's also significant, not just the US doing it, but it will set a tone for other countries to follow suit, just as other countries have collected gold in the past.
Yeah, talk to me about that part of your call, Alexander, the idea of other global central banks scooping up Bitcoin, especially in relation to the strength we're seeing in the US dollar. Can other central banks really afford to be hedging with an asset like crypto and Bitcoin?
I think, well, first of all, central banks can print paper money out whenever they want. And if they're buying a real asset with it, it's better than what they spend most of their money on, which is typically poor spending. And so I think central banks definitely can do it. It's a question of who has the incentive and kind of political will to do that. And I think there's 2 categories of groups that have that interest. There's one is people trying to get out of a dollar reserve asset. So maybe a country like Russia that has incentive to not be stuck to the petrodollar. And then there are countries that are trying to keep up with the US. So countries maybe like China or England that, if the US is doing it, even if there's just the US doing it makes the odds of it being a successful asset even greater. And so the game theory is, well, I want to keep up with the United States, and their involvement makes everything more likely to be make this an important asset. And so I think it's a very real thing, and central banks can definitely do it.
All right, Alexander, we have less than a minute here, but the third point that you bring out is that we might see a bit of a follow here in MicroStrategy's lead with a FANG company adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet. What signal is this going to then send to the markets, and who, I guess, of the FANG members?
Yes, so, by my calculations, these companies are sitting on about $383 billion in cash at the moment. Even a small percentage of that put into Bitcoin would likely benefit the shareholders a lot more than the cost of the actual purchase. I think the more forward-facing ones that have already expressed some interest in crypto, like Meta in the past, might be good candidates for it, especially ones that already have a lot of founder-controlled shares that they can use their kind of decision-making to make these decisions more utterly.
All right, we got to leave it there, Alexander. Thank you so much.
Thank you.